In this video, we will talk about Top 10 Infamous Serial Killers. Discussing the topic of infamous serial killers is both disturbing and fascinating. These individuals have committed heinous crimes that have left a lasting impact on society. The following is an in-depth look at the lives, crimes, and legacies of 10 of the most notorious serial killers in history. Due to the length constraints, I will provide a comprehensive overview of each killer, touching upon their background, methods, victims, and the aftermath of their actions. 1. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is one of history's most notorious serial killers, active in London in 1888. His true identity remains unknown. The Ripper murdered at least 5 women, all prostitutes, in the Whitechapel district. His killings involved brutal throat slashing and abdominal mutilations, suggesting some medical knowledge. Despite numerous suspects and extensive investigations, he was never caught. Jack the Ripper's case has become a symbol of unsolved crime mysteries and continues to intrigue people worldwide, sparking countless theories and debates about his true identity and motives. 2. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was an American serial killer active in the 1970s, infamous for his charm and intelligence. He confessed to murdering 30 young women across several states, though the actual number might be higher. Bundy would often approach his victims in public places, pretending to be injured or needing help to gain their trust. Once they were isolated, he would overpower them, using methods like strangulation and bludgeoning to kill them. Remarkably, Bundy managed to escape custody twice, displaying his cunning nature before being captured for good in 1978. He was executed in 1989. Bundy's case is extensively studied in criminology because of his manipulative personality and his ability to evade capture for so long, highlighting the complexities and dangers of dealing with serial killers who can blend into society so well. 3. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was an American serial killer and sex offender who murdered 17 young men between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer lured his victims to his apartment, where he drugged, strangled, and dismembered them. He also engaged in necrophilia and cannibalism, keeping body parts as trophies. His horrific crimes came to light in 1991 when one of his intended victims managed to escape and alert the police. Dahmer was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment, but he was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. Dahmer's case is infamous for its shocking and gruesome details, and it has been extensively covered in media and documentaries, capturing the public's morbid fascination and revulsion. His actions have left a lasting impact on the way society views serial killers and their psychological profiles. 4. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, known as the Killer Clone, was an American serial killer and sex offender who murdered at least 33 young men between 1972 and 1978. Gacy lured his victims to his home with promises of work or money. Once there, he overpowered, handcuffed, and strangled them. He buried many of their bodies in the crawl space under his house. Gacy's crimes were discovered in 1978, leading to his arrest. He was convicted of 33 murders and executed by lethal injection in 1994. Gacy's case is particularly infamous because he maintained a public persona as a clown who entertained children, all while hiding his horrific crimes. This dual life, combining a seemingly friendly exterior with his gruesome actions, has made Gacy one of the most notorious serial killers in history. His ability to deceive those around him and commit such atrocities remains a chilling reminder of the potential for evil behind a friendly facade. 5. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos was a rare female serial killer who murdered 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990. Wuornos claimed she killed these men in self-defense while working as a prostitute, asserting that they had either raped or attempted to rape her. However, evidence suggested that the murders were premeditated rather than acts of self-defense. Wuornos shot her victims at point-blank range, then robbed them. Her method involved luring the men with promises of sex, then killing them and taking their valuables. Wuornos was arrested in 1991 after a series of investigations linked her to the murders. She eventually confessed to the crimes, providing detailed accounts of each murder. Her confessions and subsequent trial garnered significant media attention, not only because she was a female serial killer, which is relatively uncommon, but also due to the brutal nature of her crimes and her troubled background. Wuornos had a difficult life filled with abuse and hardship, which many believe contributed to her violent actions. Her early years were marked by abandonment, sexual abuse, and a series of troubled relationships. These factors, combined with her time spent as a prostitute, painted a picture of a deeply troubled individual. In 1992, Wuornos was sentenced to death for her crimes. She spent a decade on death row, during which time she gave numerous interviews, often displaying a mix of remorse and defiance. Wuornos was executed by lethal injection in 2002. Her life and crimes were the basis for the 2003 film Monster, starring Charlize Theron. The film depicted Wuornos' troubled life and the brutal nature of her crimes, offering a nuanced portrayal of her character. Theron's performance earned her an Academy Award, and the film brought further attention to Wuornos' story. Aileen Wuornos remains a controversial figure. Some see her as a victim of her circumstances, while others view her as a cold-blooded killer. Her case continues to spark debate about the factors that drive individuals to commit such heinous acts and the complexities of assessing culpability in cases involving severe personal trauma. 6. Ed Gein. Ed Gein, the butcher of Plainfield, was an American murderer and body snatcher active in the 1950s. Gein exhumed corpses from local graveyards and used their remains to create macabre items like clothing and furniture. He also murdered 2 women. Gein's crimes were discovered in 1957 when police found human remains in his home. Declared insane, he spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. Gein's gruesome acts inspired numerous horror stories, including Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, making him a cultural icon of horror. 7. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, was an American serial killer, rapist, and burglar who terrorized California in the mid-1980s. Ramirez's crimes included home invasion, murder, and sexual assault, with victims ranging in age and gender. He used a variety of weapons and often left satanic symbols at the crime scenes. Ramirez was captured in 1985 after being identified by residents who subdued him until police arrived. Convicted of 13 murders, he was sentenced to death but died of cancer in 2013 while on death row. His case remains notorious for the sheer terror he instilled in his victims and the public. 8. Gary Ridgway. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, was an American serial killer convicted of 49 murders, though he confessed to killing at least 71 women in the 1980s and 1990s. Ridgway targeted prostitutes and runaways, strangling them and dumping their bodies in remote areas around the Green River in Washington state. He often revisited the bodies to perform necrophilic acts. Ridgway was arrested in 2001 after DNA evidence linked him to several murders. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. His case is one of the longest and most extensive serial killer investigations in U.S. history. 9. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, known as BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill, was an American serial killer who murdered 10 people in Kansas between 1974 and 1991. Rader's crimes involved stalking his victims, then binding, torturing, and killing them. He taunted police and media with letters describing his crimes. Rader led a double life as a family man and church leader, which helped him evade capture for decades. He was arrested in 2005 after police traced a floppy disk he sent. Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. His case highlights the chilling ability of some killers to hide in plain sight. 10. Andrei Chikatilo. Andrei Chikatilo, the butcher of Rostov, was a Soviet serial killer who murdered at least 52 women and children between 1978 and 1990. Chikatilo's crimes were marked by extreme brutality, involving sexual assault, mutilation, and cannibalism. He often lured his victims to isolated areas before attacking them. Arrested in 1990, Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders and was convicted of 52. He was executed by a single gunshot to the head in 1994. Chikatilo's case exposed significant flaws in the Soviet criminal justice system and remains one of the most gruesome in history. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.